What's going on, YouTube? It's Sussanoo here with the deck profile. Today we have a deck profile over my Riser build that I took to locals on Saturday. Now, on this Saturday was the first Saturday of Generation Break, after the release of Generation Break, and I wanted to see if this deck could actually function in Stride format. So, the fact that you still have full cap butlers as of March 14th, you know, this deck didn't seem to slow down. A lot of people thought this deck was over. It was dead. Couldn't function. The fact that this deck can lose early game to early game rush, really lowers your chances of winning. But I tried to change up the deck to fix for Stride format, and I tried to fix the problems of the other deck that I had. I kept going like maybe X2, losing to some random decks, and I mean for fun, not in the tournament, but like for fun. And you know, it kind of bothered me, so I tried to figure out what the problem was. The problem was I wasn't drawing too much, like I should have, and then also, whenever I had those boosters, Jet Riser and Carving Riser, they wouldn't really do too much. Essentially, they were just really good, semi-decent boosters. And, you know, they didn't seem to do any difference. But, however, I did make some changes. And the fact that I've been playing with strides for all this time, it helped change up my lineup a little bit. So, at the locals I went to, it was like 30 to 40 people. And best 2 out of 3. 5 rounds of Swiss. It was actually one of the biggest tournaments that they had in the store. And I'd never been there before. It was like my first time. And the only reason I went there was to really test out this deck for Team League. And, you know, this deck performed really well. Got to top 4. So, I'm going to get on with the deck profile. And then I'll tell you all my rounds after the deck profile. Oh yeah. Also, I got this mat. I actually had to win the sneak peek the Sunday before that Saturday, so it was like, I guess, you know, early on last week. I posted this on Sunday, so yeah, last week. Just so you all know. But anyways, for the starters, we just have your generic grade 3 searcher. For the most part, the deck is the same, but I'll just tell you all the differences from the other one. You know, standard 4 Mega Flares, no Drill Wings. Drill Wing is okay, but this deck can get to your grade 3s fast enough. And it's pretty much, you always get this, so. For the grade 2s, we have Dual Flare, 3 Street Bouncers. The change from the other build was I had Marine Riser instead of the 3rd Street Bouncer. This is a double R Street Bouncer to see if like this would come up as Marine Riser or something like that. In that situation, to see if it was actually better. For the most part, getting the +1 early on helps with the fact that some people will try to rush you. Early on in the game, you have more guard. It really helps out. Helps you dig into your deck faster, and +1 is a +1, so it allows you to get closer to reaching your goal of winning the game. So you have, you know, Flame Wing, 12k attacker, pretty standard stuff for your grade 2 lineups. For the grade 1 lineups, this was a new change. I had 2 energy chargers, and then I had instead of like the 3rd energy charger, I had like Carving Riser or Jet Riser or something like that. So 2 energy chargers you'll probably use, but the 3rd one is basically useless. So essentially you're just trying to dig into your deck faster. So as soon as I just wanted to see it just to get that +1 early on, so it can make up for, you know, lost time and trying to get into the deck faster. So the 3rd one is really good. But usually what it happened whenever I used it, whenever I got to the other ones, I usually just used it for guard, because it really wasn't that great. I mean, the 5k booster is not good. But yeah, just to see it. 4 shouts. A lot of people cut this card. This card is really good. You're just trying to get into your deck faster, trying to see those grade 3 and Cat Butler, and if you get the Legion Mate, is also really good too. So yeah, I felt like this was really good. It also feels for Legion. It's a really good card. I mean, I don't see why you would cut this. It's ridiculous. And here's another change. 3 of Cannon Riser. He's just the 10k attacker, but he's also ridiculously good in this deck. He's better than Jet Riser and Carby Riser, in my opinion. The fact that you can move him up and he's a 10k attacker, he can at least attack over rear guard that you need to get rid of on your opponent's side of the field, and it comes in clutch because there's no other way of getting over their rear guards unless you have to boost something with. So you actually have to try to pressure your opponent by attacking the Vanguard. So these guys can just attack over rear guards on the side, and he's just the standard grade 1. So I felt like that was really helpful. And then for the new change, we have 2 quintets and 2 perfect guards. The 2 perfect guards are absolutely necessary. I wouldn't recommend playing quintet walls in this deck anymore. Like the 4 is like usually the standard. I had 3 before. It wasn't cutting it. The fact that strides can kill you at the 3rd damage, and if you nullify it, you basically win from there, because by that point you get to their 3rd damage and then you should have like Cat Butler in time and you just basically win. The quintets were good all day, however, but the perfect guards were absolutely clutch because a lot of people thought I didn't have any perfect guards, so they would go for Atmos and boost their stride like to like 40,000 or something like that, and it was just ridiculous amount of pressure. So I just perfect, and then basically they wasted a counterblast for no reason, and I wasn't gonna take that damage. I didn't feel like losing at the 3rd damage. Usually what happens, like every time I take a stride attack, I usually get double crit. So it's just, it feels a lot safer. I might move it up to 3 twin blades, but the thing is, the situation happened a lot where I had 1 quintet, 1 perfect guard, and then 1 random card. So I would take 1 attack, they attack with a stride, perfect, and then they put all the triggers on the 1 rear guard, boosted, and then quintet, and it would just guard everything. Yeah, so it was all really good. Wouldn't really change this lineup. For right now, it's really good. For the grade 0s, of course you're gonna have your Cat Butler. As long as it's at 4, it's gonna be, this deck could be still viable in stride format. The fact if it does get to 2, you might have to change it to the Viktor Riser build if you still want to go into use Mega Flare at all or Cat Butler at all. I was thinking you can probably just play with the Viktor build instead, but someone did use Viktor Riser build in the tournament, and they ended up going like they ended up 2-0ing every single one of their matchups. So he was really good. I think he lost like maybe once, and it must have been really bad, but every time I saw him, he played perfectly. The deck was crazy. But yeah, enough about that. So like I said, 4 Cat Butlers, 8 crits. The only reason I have these is actually not to confuse my opponent of how many crits I have. It probably did confuse some people, like how many crits I had. But this is actually just to figure out if I needed draws or not. So whenever I played for fun, I would see whenever I had these, whenever I drive check these, if I would rather have a draw or a crit at that moment. So, but most of the time, I would rather have a crit. However, maybe one of them could be a draw. So maybe 5 draws and 7 crits. But for the most part, like, these were really good. The extra 10k shield is really good. 4 heals. I recommend you all to use the riser triggers too, just in case you need to boost Mega Flare, you know, so you can restand a rear guard. And I actually called this out a lot, just to like put it behind like Street Bouncer, and then draw a card and stuff. Yeah, that's usually what I use it for. I did use it to boost the Vanguard once. Yeah, to restand another rear guard. That was like before Legion, of course. But yeah. So that was it for the deck, and then we have my stride units. I don't have very many because I'm really poor. So, but I did manage to get this. I would recommend you all to get like 4 of these. 2 at most, and 2 of the other stride unit for noble grapplers. That was really good. But I ended up using these. I did stride a few times, so I felt like that was very necessary for this deck to function, because if you have too many mega flares, you basically lose almost, because you need those extra guards early on. So ditching this to stride, try to dig into your deck for more, you know, more options. Trying to get to Cat Butler faster. So that was the idea behind that. And these strides, I actually used stride a lot in this tournament. Maybe 4 or 5 times. But I used G assist twice out of 5 rounds, and there's you know, best 2 out of 3. So yeah, I did use stride. I didn't have this in time of the tournament. I actually got this afterwards. So there's that. For the matchups, most of the people I faced were well prepared for the game. They all got like all their decks tops tiers, and they also, you know, had the best builds out there. So round 1, I faced against Dragonic Overlord the X. So yeah, that was a really hard game. This deck managed to win. I lost the first game because I didn't draw Cat Butler. I had him at 5 damage too, and all I needed to win was the Cat Butler. He kept gaining advantage because he kept healing, because all he was doing was recycling the triggers back into the deck. So I had 1 Cat Butler damage check, and I had 3 in the deck, and I had a 10 card deck by the time, you know, I really needed that Cat Butler. So that was rather unfortunate. I lost the first game, and then the other 2 I ended up winning because I drew Cat Butler. And yeah, the last game came in clutch because I drew the second Cat Butler that I had. You don't call out Cat Butler unless you know where you're going for game against Kagero, because they'll just retire it really fast, and there's really nothing you can do. If you lose the Cat Butler, you basically lose the game. So what I had was, he had a pretty big hand. He had like 4 damage. I knew he had a guard, so I just had 2 Cat Butlers out, attacked like a rear guard or something, because I think this was the only thing I had to make 1 column was just the Cat Butlers, and then he had to guard with my Vanguard attack. So that's what happened. Round 2, I faced against Gear Chronicle 2-0. Gear Chronicle didn't seem like that much of a threat. The deck was pretty slow. I feel like it's missing something, but it has some really interesting stuff in there. But I don't think it's that much of a threat right now. 3rd round, I faced this Kagero deck. I don't know what it was. It was like Dauntless Drive with some other card that kept retiring my other rear guards. So basically, I lost this 0-2. He kept retiring my field. Like, no matter what I call out, it's like it would get retired. So stuff in the back row and some in the front row would get retired, but all he had to do was retire the back row, and then he had a lot of draw triggers, so every time he drove check, he got something good. It wasn't only a break ride deck, it was a stride variant, so he used all the stride enablers, and he had a bunch of grade 3s, so he's literally used stride every single turn, and yeah, I mean he used stride every single turn. He eventually ran out of strides, and by the time I was about to win, I had one card left in the deck, and I drew it, and I just died. So that's what happened. So I just lost that. I was a little bit discouraged after that, but you know, I have to keep on trying, see if I can, if that was just the deck, or maybe it was me or the matchup. I don't know. So fourth round, faced the OTT. It was the stride variant. It had that it was just like the Coco build. Yeah, CEO or CCO, I don't know what it's called. It was that build that it was pretty popular there. Most of the decks in the tournament were just OTT and Kagero. You know, just the dragonic overlord, the X deck. I mean, it's actually ridiculously good. The deck really stunned me for a bit because I was just so confused, like what should I do? But I think I did the right plays. The people I faced were actually ridiculously good. Like they got the most plus for their, you know, for their buck. So that match wasn't really too happy about. But fifth round, faced the mirror match Noble Grappler. He went 7-3 with his build. I just destroyed his build because my build was a little bit more aggressive, using cannon raizers and street bouncers. So I was getting a little bit more advantage than he was. And the cannon raizers put in a lot of work. So did the flame wings. I kept drawing those things. If you rush them, they basically lose. So that's the idea behind the mirror match. They just rush as fast as possible, and they just lose straight up. They can't guard all the attacks. And then in top 8, I faced ezzell, Royal Paladins with Alfred and altmile. Yeah. That deck, I actually got pretty scared because people didn't want to split in top 8, so it ended up you had to win to get to top 4 and get, you know, credit. So I was actually grade stuck for like the longest time on grade 2. I didn't get a grade 3 in forever until I drew like half the deck, and I still didn't get grade 3. He had I kept retiring his grade 2s just by attacking them. I tried to get him to 4 before I actually used G assist again. I used G assist earlier on, but I didn't get it, so I didn't even bother trying again until I was ready, because he already had altmile out, and if he used stride, I was basically gonna lose because my hand wasn't very big. But his hand was wearing down because he wasn't getting any advantage. So I used G assist as soon as I got like 2 cat butlers, and basically I already had him at 4, so I used G assist, got the mega flare, and then went ahead to attack for game, and that's basically what it did. It was just crazy. So I beat him in that game 1. Game 2, he actually missed his G assist, and his deck wasn't really that consistent. But I'm kind of surprised he actually made it to top 8. So he made it to top 8, and I beat him. I got to top 4. We didn't really play it out. In top 4, we just split. But for those of you that are wondering, top 4 was my pretty standard riser build. Shadow Paladins. Shadow Paladins is still a ridiculously strong deck. I don't see why people in Japan don't play it. That deck is so strong. You can still keep up with the meta. As long as you're like really smart about the plays you make, this deck can still top. Dragonic Overlord the X. The guy that I beat in round 1, he actually ended up being in table 1. So he was really good. it wasn't the deck. He was actually pretty good. So the deck was good too. For the last one is Viktor Nova Grapplers. Viktor with the Mega Flare in it. That build was crazy good. Every time I saw him, it was just something ridiculously stupid on the field.